There are so many creatures to see in the Amazon. There you can find frogs with glass bodies, unique lizards that can walk on water, and not only. You'll see more in this episode. Today, I'll show you the most unusual inhabitants of the Amazon that will surprise you. Let's go! And we'll start with this interesting photo sent to me by a subscriber. On it, you can see 6 people who were doing some archaeology in remote parts of our planet and accidentally discovered this giant. According to the author of the photo, it happened in Brazil, and the monster was actually an ancient dinosaur, surprisingly well preserved to this day. Nevertheless, it's not so easy to believe in this story. Let's start with the size of the monster. Judging by the photo and how big it is relative to humans, the giant was at least 30 feet tall. Then its teeth, they're just abnormally large and at the same time sharp. Let's assume that such a dinosaur did exist. But why did it die? What was the key factor? Did it run out of food? Are the climate conditions to blame? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. Glass frogs. And these are the creatures that you both want to see and even take with you. You can find them by traveling through the wilds of the Amazon, although the word "find" is an overstatement. Glass frogs are masters of disguise. They blend in with the leaves as skillfully as possible. They're called glass frogs for a reason, by the way. In addition to their amazing camouflage among the leaves, they're also transparent. If you look at the belly of such a frog with the naked eye, you can see its organs. This is the dream of any animal researcher. These transparent glass jumpers are quite tiny, usually not exceeding an inch in length. Still, I think it's quite difficult to study such small organisms. But despite this, scientists were able to learn one interesting detail about them. It turns out that in the course of evolution, glass frogs obtain the ability to hide all their blood in their liver. It's at this point that they become maximally transparent. This happens, by the way, during sleep. When the frog's awake, it becomes opaque again. In fact, this is a truly unique creature. After all, because of this feature, it doesn't receive oxygen for 12 hours or even more, but remains intact. Common basilisk. The common basilisk is a diurnal lizard with long toes and sharp claws. Males are easily distinguished by an unusual crest directly on the head. Most representatives of the species are up to 12 inches long and weigh no more than 21 ounces, but there are individuals 2 or even 3 times larger. Locals call these basilisks Jesus Christ lizards for their ability to walk on water. But they move not only on water. If necessary, common basilisks can also swim quickly, holding their breath for 30 minutes. At the same time, their running speed on land is 7 miles per hour. But let's get back to their main trick, running on water. How do they do it? Of course, here you can draw quite logical analogies with insects like water skaters, but the weight of the basilisk is way bigger. Researchers decided to study this phenomenon and well prepared for it. They installed all the necessary cameras and were able to understand the following. It turns out that the basilisk does not run on the water, but paddles with the help of hind legs and claws. It just does it very quickly, which allows it to stay on the surface and not sink. Thus, the lizard can easily cover a distance of 1,300 to 1,650 feet on the water. After running this distance, the common basilisk goes to rest. It needs to recover its strength. It has no preferences in food. It can eat whatever it comes across – fish, snakes, eggs, flowers, in general, anything. Giant Amazon leech. Leeches are definitely not creatures that people plan to take home with them, or at least hold in their hands. They're slimy, nasty, and they bite. There are more than 500 species of these creatures in the world, but we're now interested in the giant Amazon leech, which reaches almost 20 inches in length. This giant's considered the largest leech in the world. Suction discs are located on the back and front ends of its wide body. On the front one, there's a rather large mouth, but the back one is not particularly noticeable. Giant Amazon leech belongs to the jawless leeches order, so its throat extends outward. And the word extends is an understatement. It can stretch outward 6 inches and easily pierce any skin, reaching out to the sweetest blood vessels. It may seem that a leech is the kind of creature that feeds on someone of its size, but that's not the case at all. It's not uncommon for these Amazonian creatures to attack caimans or anacondas. Just so you understand, just a few of these monsters are enough to deal with an adult cow. The good news is that their digestion is very slow, because of which, having eaten once, they'll not feel hungry for a long time. But if they get hungry, anyone, even humans, can get into trouble with these suction discs. Apparently, if someone grows up in the Amazon, they, by default, become a record holder. We had leeches, now we have the Amazon River dolphin. It's the largest of all river dolphins in the world. It grows up to 8.2 feet in length and weighs up to 455 pounds. It's actually quite strange that any dolphins swim in the Amazon. It's incredibly murky and very difficult to navigate there. Therefore, Amazon River dolphins have to rely on echolocation, great hearing and touch. From their marine relatives, Amazon River dolphins are distinguished by their speed of movement and the shape of their snout. They swim slowly, but they're maneuverable. Their usual speed's about 2 miles per hour, and the maximum speed can reach 9 to 14 miles per hour. Along with this, Amazon River dolphins are also quite toothy. They have 52 to 66 sharp teeth in each jaw. With their help, they can easily cling to their favorite target and never let it go. In addition, their size is quite hefty, so the targets can also be quite large. Every day, they consume more than 26 pounds of food. By the way, since Amazon River dolphins are dolphins, even living in river conditions, they're smart and resourceful, just like their marine relatives. Often, as fishermen say, these cunning creatures swim up to boats and steal fish. Hoatzin. This is the name of an unusual tropical bird I'll talk about now. It's a rather large bird, the size of a pheasant, up to 25.5 inches long, with a long neck and a small head. However, a special distinctive feature of the Hoatzin is that it's the only bird alive today that has partially preserved fingers on its front limbs. Chicks have claws on their thumbs and first fingers, which they use for climbing before they can fly. In adulthood, the claws fall off. The birds live above water in nests they build themselves. These incomprehensible structures look unreliable and a little sloppy. The nest looks like an ordinary horizontal platform of rods located on a large branch, which hangs over the water. However, the feathered ones trust their skills and even invite other birds to visit them, although it's understandable. After all, birds need a home only at night. During the day, they spend most of their time in the air, flying and searching for food. Not live food, mind you. Hoatzins do not want to waste energy fighting with other creatures, so they climb from branch to branch and eat various flowers, fruit, and leaves. The latter are precisely the basis of their diet. Despite the fact that this food is poorly rich in nutrients, Hoatzins find ways to get the most out of it. They have special symbiotic bacteria in their stomachs that help them digest what they eat and extract what they need. Not all creatures that live in the Amazon are so well known to science. There are a number of more mysterious creatures that are the stuff of legends. These are the ones you'll learn about next. One of the strangest creatures in the Amazon is the Sinwanaba. The ancient peoples of these lands spoke about it long ago, but no one's ever been able to provide solid evidence. People describe this monster as a creature that looks like a girl. It lures tourists with its long, beautiful hair and slim figure, and then shows them a skull instead of a face and eats them on the spot. Some tribes view the Sinwanaba as a protector of nature and forests, while others view it as a ghost woman who tempts people. Nevertheless, the symbolic meanings of the Sinwanaba are closely associated with nature, magic, femininity, and the changeability of human nature. Its image is often used to explain obscure phenomena or moral lessons. Well, I definitely wouldn't want to encounter these creatures. Would you? Let me know in the comments. And next, let's talk about an equally dangerous creature that even crocodiles are afraid of. It's a pity people don't keep electric eels in their homes and aquariums. They think the fish is too big, too fastidious, and dangerous. Nevertheless, I see some positive sides to it. For example, what to do if the electricity in the whole house is cut off. With an electric eel, it's much easier. You put your phone to it and charge it up. You could boil a kettle there and you can do anything at all. There are so many interesting facts and myths about this creature. Let's start with the most popular one. Did you know that the electric eel is not an eel at all? The fish has much more in common with catfish. However, electric eels belong to the neotropical knifefish order. Therefore, if someone will talk about the electric eel, each of you will be able to flaunt your knowledge and notice, actually, it's not an eel, it's an electric neotropical knifefish. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it's a matter of opinion, but it used to be thought that the electric eel was the only one of its kind in the entire Amazon. However, modern research has shown otherwise. Turns out that there are as many as 3 species of the knifefish, and their difference can be seen not only in appearance but also in voltage. By the way, later I'll tell you about one interesting experiment, how a man tested the voltage of the eel personally with his own hand. Be sure to watch the video to the end. So that's what I was talking about. Oh yeah, they found 3 species. Electrophorus volti can electrocute up to 800 volts. Electrophorus varii can electrocute up to about 600 volts. And Electrophorus electricus can electrocute a measly 400 volts. And now everyone imagines an electric eel swimming on the water surface surrounded by lightning, as if it were not a fish but some kind of Thor or Zeus, and knocking down everything and everyone in its path. Undoubtedly, it sounds epic and cool, but today's protagonist is too infantile and simply not interested. This fish can only move and try to do something when it's hungry, or in self-defense, of course. We'll talk about that later, but for now, let's consider the principle of obtaining food. When the eel gets within sight of suitable targets to eat, like Iron Man, it marks them with its eye and swims towards them. Once nearby, the eel calls out to Zeus and creates several powerful discharges at once. I really want to show you how it looks like, but it's not easy to find the right footage at all. The thing is that the electric eel shoots with lightning speed and you can see it only in slow motion. Our knifefish beats on the area and stuns everyone that gets caught in its electric essence. And what happens next is what people call a mere formality. All the eel has to do is suck up the tastiest stuff and go to sleep. Following the logical chain, you'll ask the question, can this monster of the depths harm a human? Does it have enough power, and does it manifest such a desire in general? Well, I'll tell you right off the bat, humans don't have to worry about anything. A walking power bank can take us to the point of death, but in very rare cases. First, the victim must have a weak heart. And secondly, the electric eel is afraid of big guys like us and shows no desire to attack us first, except in self-defense. It's more interested in eating snakes. This is what I call a tasty and useful breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Young anacondas are sent to the stomach of Electro of the water world. The only thing is that only adults that are more than 3 feet long and weigh about 44 pounds can do this. By the way, the electric eel will not lose weight by the summer because most of its weight is made up of the organs responsible for the discharge. This is how fate has been cruel to it. These organs, by the way, are nothing but modified muscle cells. And since the electric eel's entire body and organs are a conductor of electricity, this animal has mastered a rather strange but effective attacking technique. If necessary, the knifefish can jump out of the water and snuggle up to the offender or potential prey with its belly. In this way, the eel will be able to roast and knock down even the largest enemy as much as possible. By the way, I don't just mean big fish. Not at all. These creatures can even deal with horses. Unfortunately, there's even a relevant fact in history. I'll tell you about it a little later too. It's important to note that it would be wrong to blame the electric eel for all its deeds at once. This fish is not partly to blame. The fact is, the knifefish has rather poor eyesight, and for orientation in murky waters, it uses its electricity. This electro shoots around itself with 10-volt discharges and makes itself a 3D picture of the world around, which will be cooler than the virtual reality helmets. What's more, this isn't the only way the electric eel is able to use its main ability. With discharges, it's also learned to communicate with its congeners. Just as electricity allows us to chat, electric eels are able to communicate with each other through electric discharges, informing about their location, age, gender, and other personality parameters. As I promised at the beginning of the video, I'll tell you a short story about how one brave man tested the discharges of the electric eel on himself. The scientist's name is Kenneth Catania. The man wanted to test what voltage the electric eel creates when it strikes, and how strong an electric current can pass through the human body. All experiments the scientist conducted on himself. As his test subject, he chose a young eel, which was about 16 inches long. Fortunately, at least he took that individual and not one that was 5 feet long. First of all, the scientist measured the electromotive force and internal resistance of the eel using an ammeter, voltmeter, and several resistors. After that, from the data on the conductivity of water at room temperature, the resistance of water per length of the eel's body was calculated. Then, using a voltmeter and a dielectric plate, the biologist measured the voltage drop on the part of the eel protruding from the water during the attack and found its resistance. Well, as soon as the preparatory part was over, the beginning of the test on the scientist was announced. The biologist used his own hand with the palm dipped in water as an object to attack. To avoid underwater contact between the eel and his hand, he placed the palm in a container of dielectric material, covered on both sides with a conductive layer. With the help of such a device, the scientist measured the dependence of the current that flows through the arm after the eel attack on time. You might ask, why'd he do it at all? It's been clear for a long time that the electric eel hits very hard and is able to knock down even a horse. An adult eel has enough energy to knock down a human. I don't know the answer to that question either. Remains a mystery to me. In any case, the story is interesting. So is the method of the scientist's tests. Hit the like button for the efforts of this brave scientist. And now the promised second story about horses. A scientist came to visit the Indians in order to observe electric eels and do his own research. He asked the natives to catch him 5 knifefish, but he had no idea what seemingly brutal, but as it would turn out later, effective method the Indians would use. They approached the water with a large herd and drove every last horse into the water. Moreover, the natives were constantly scaring them, waving their spears and making them afraid. This caused the horses to roar and beat the water with their hooves in fear. Such actions provoked the electric eels to get close and at some point retaliate aggressively. The eels began to electrocute the horses with all their might. The horses, receiving the real pain and horrible sensations, pounded the water even harder and faster, saving their own lives. As it turned out later, the eel's strike was enough to knock a horse down and make it almost helpless, but it was not lethal. The eels rather exhausted themselves as they spent literally all their energy and surfaced. There they were caught by the Indians with harpoons. Electric eel versus alligator. The alligator is a predatory reptile that has the most powerful grip, incredible reflexes, and amazing hunting skills. In this video, a guy walking into the woods quite by accident saw an alligator swimming towards an electric eel. Clearly something serious was about to happen, some kind of lightning attack. Basically, that's exactly what happened. The alligator waited for the right moment and grabbed the eel. Let me tell you right away, the alligator's grip strength is very big. For example, the strength of the American alligator is so big that it can even lift a small truck with its bite. Of course, this creature would be weaker, but still. For all those who thought this fight was over, keep watching. The eel shot several defensive discharges and sent the alligator to kingdom come with itself. Pretty quickly, the predator stopped twitching and just froze, plunging back under the water. Electric eel versus dog. Now that we've seen what an electric eel can do to a real alligator, let's take a look at the clash between an electric eel and a dog. You must admit it's very disturbing to watch because the dog is still so young, so cute, and completely unaware of the danger this electro can carry. Throughout the video, the owner and his faithful friend try to chase the electric eel away from their territory, nudging it with a rock to the barking of the dog. At some moments, the dog came so close to the eel that it seemed now it would electrocute the dog and it would be a finish. But I'll tell you right away, everything ended well. This, by the way, is the great demonstration that if no one touches the electric eel, it will also be neutral to others. Elephant seals fight. Usually, the fight between these seals attracts the attention of a large number of people. Everyone wants to see their unusual fighting style. So, you haven't seen it before? Okay, then I'll show it to you. Only first, I'll tell you a little background. Seals of this genus are among the largest predators in the world. At the same time, large size is not just a thing that they got from nature and immediately forgot about. It's because of their size and, as a consequence, their large amount of blood that they stock up on oxygen. This allows them to hold their breath for long periods of time and dive to depths of up to 1.2 miles. Were you proud of yourself when you didn't dive out of the water for about a minute? Well, you're about an hour and a half behind the elephant seal record. Another cool feature of these creatures is the trunk called proboscis. However, it's observed only in males. It's necessary, as easy to guess, to attract females. With this element of the body, males emit a shrill roar, which attracts the opposite sex. During the breeding season, males are engaged in serious work, from which they do not have time to distract themselves even with food. During the 3 months of mating, they literally starve. In their free time, the creatures are busy fighting with competitors, just like in this video. You have to admit that fighting between them is a very funny process. The elephant seal can't bite its opponent. It can't somehow knock it down with its flippers either. This means that all it can do is try to crush the opponent with its own weight. The perfect attack. The Bahamas is a little paradise that many people dream of visiting. People want to be on a pristine beach, plunge into crystal clear water, and gaze up at the blue sky. However, there are fans of such an atmosphere who like a more dynamic holiday. They come to the Bahamas with one goal: to go underwater, armed with equipment, and find some rare creature. As you can guess, the protagonists of our story were very lucky as they encountered a hammerhead shark. A pretty big hammerhead shark. At first, it peacefully swam next to the divers and didn't show any aggression at all. So to speak, it was pulling the wool over their eyes and lulling their vigilance. All of a sudden, swimming sort of past, the predator turned toward the diver and rushed straight into his belly. Fortunately, the man stayed focused and quickly dodged the attack. Realizing that it was outnumbered and that this unexpected attack didn't end well, the shark decided to swim around for a while longer and get out of the diver's sight to go in search of easier prey. Anyway, if I were the divers, I would have been glad. It's worth a lot to get that kind of footage. Because of their excessively large size and unusual body structure, giraffes are physically unable to fight the way other animals do. But don't worry, their method is just as effective, and it can also be quite funny. These tall representatives of the fauna world swing their necks, which spin like helicopter blades. Considering that giraffes weigh about a ton, you can imagine how hard they hit each other to knock each other down. Head blows are landed with incredible force. I think it's not difficult to understand that from the sound coming from them. But as practice shows, even this isn't all. Such fights between giraffes are so serious that during them, the creatures even use horns on their heads, which are called ossicones. They need them to inflict damage in the area of the underbelly. An alternative attack is to hit the opponent with the hooves. Depending on the giraffe's desire and some circumstances, such a blow can literally crush the skull of almost any other living creature. Along with such a great attack, giraffes are also quite good at absorbing punches. Such a battle between two males can last for quite a long time. Usually the loser is the one that swings too hard and falls, losing its balance. In our next story, by the way, it was also vital not to lose the balance. The point is that the guys were testing their fate by playing with an evil snake ready to bite them. Cockfighting. I've never understood the point of people organizing cockfights and watching them, placing bets, but after watching this fight, I had a dramatic change of heart. No, I didn't run to start my own cockfighting promotion, but I was pleasantly surprised. The battle between these two looked extremely epic. At least there were lots of different moves in the fight. Plus, it was unclear until the end which animal would win. Got herself in trouble. That's exactly what you could say about this girl, who stood in front of the monkey and did nothing but tease it. At first, the primate responded by touching the girl's hair peacefully and decided to take an interest in her cap. But as soon as the girl took the thing back, the monkey got really mad and decided to fix the lady's hair thoroughly. That's all, guys. Which moment seemed the most tense to you? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.